Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Todd Klindt's SharePoint podcast number 297, recorded live on a beautiful Monday, June 20th, 2016. And not only is it a beautiful day, it is the longest day of the year, the most sunlight. So go out there and enjoy that. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, if you're one of my Australian friends, it is the shortest day of the year. So, bundle up and do whatever, get your kangaroo skin coat on and do whatever. But up here, us Northerners, longest day of the year, beautiful out. I, of course, am your host, Todd Klindt. I am not the NBA championship. NBA champion or MVP. That's some other guy. I forget what his name is. Jimmy, something. I forget. Not me, but I'll be with you for the next little bit. And while we're talking about this, you can point your web browsers at sharepoint.rackspace.com and find about all the things that we do here at Rackspace that have to do with SharePoint. We do hosted SharePoint. We do all kinds of things. Go out and find out about it. And then while you're out there, click on over to rackspace.com/Microsoft and see what else we have going on. And then me, I got my little corner of the internet. I have toddklindt.com. That was not taken, surprisingly not taken when I bought that. So you can go to toddklindt.com and /blog is my blog, /netcast is the thing for this, all that. And I'm also out on Twitter at Todd Klindt. So let me try to change my slide here. There we go. Production notes. First production note, there's going to be the sound of a lot of people's broken hearts here, but there will be no podcast next week. Podcast 298 will be postponed. I will be en route to SP TechCon in Boston. Shane will be, who knows where Shane will be, on his way to Boston, whatever. And it was just the timing didn't work out with flights and all that. So you get next week off. Daniel Glenn, I'm looking at you in the chat room. You get Monday off. There will be no podcast. More podcast notes from the big crash a month ago. All of the MP3s are back online. I originally told you guys I was only going to put back through like 200 or something, but I went ahead and did it. I went them all. So 1 through 296 are out there in the RSS feed, so you can get those. I have not put all the videos back. I should probably do that or prune my RSS feed so they're at least not getting referenced. Now that that's done, once I fix my image, my cover art, then I'll submit it to Google, and I will I still need to submit it to IT Unity. I keep forgetting to do that, but more places for this podcast to show up. And if there's some place where you see podcasts but you don't see my podcast, let me know. I'm happy to do that. Happy to jump in there and submit it. Whatever makes it easy for you to consume this, the easiest path possible, I'm all over that. And finally, not really production notes, but a little bit of whining, a little bit of and foreshadowing for something else I want to talk about. I have spent all day today fighting machine woes. My machine would not log in this morning. Actually, it started doing it on Saturday, but I could not. When I tried to log in locally, the login UI.exe would just fail over and over again, so the screen would just flash. Ended up having to do a full reinstall of Windows 10. I think I either got hit by a patch from Patch Tuesday or one of the fast ring builds of Windows 10, and this machine was kaput. So I spent all day today, all afternoon, trying to get this thing built so that I have everything I needed installed for this podcast. So I hope you guys appreciate it, because I did it all for you. And those of you that can't see me, I'm pointing at the camera if you're just doing the MP3 version. But that's how I roll for you guys. Speaking of, let's move on to the topics. So I wanted to mention a fun, kind of a funny thing. So we talk a lot about charity here on the podcast. I'm a big believer in giving back. I've had a lot of help over the years, and so I'm happy to be in a spot now where I can provide some other people some help. And Saturday I did that. Saturday there was a fun run here in Ames for the local hospital, Mary Greeley. They had a fun run to raise funds for their hospice center, and so it's called the Hospice Hope Run or something. Couple of things about that were fun. Number one, when you do these fun runs, they're always early in the morning because it's better to run in the morning or at night. So in the morning, and I just didn't want to get up. I like my weekends, but my kids were the ones that wanted to go to this ridiculous run. So because of them, I had to go to this run. But, and I don't have it here, but you are looking and pay attention because this is kind of a long handle. You are looking at the third fastest male aged 40 to 44 running the 5K at the Mary Greeley Hospice Hope Run Saturday morning. I got a medal and everything, and I left it upstairs. I don't have it down here. But I got a medal for third place for men aged 40 to 44. So that was kind of fun. And I had to get up super early, so I got a lot of Saturday. I probably got way more Saturday than most of you folks because I got up early and stayed late. But for those of you that I'm friends with on Facebook, you saw some pictures of that. So that's what that was. It was a little charity run thing, Hear Names, that I did. So that was a good time. And then a buddy of mine that I used to work with, Mark Skluzicek, his wife ran it, and so he just happened to get some pictures of me as we were coming through. So that's where some of those goofy pictures came from, as I was making faces at Mark. But that was fun. So those of you that saw that on Facebook, that's what that was all about. So I mentioned a little bit that we were having machine woes today. I can't speak to Lori. She was having some as well. Mine were the Windows 10 thing, and the machine was just in tatters. I couldn't log into it locally. I could log into it remotely, and then it would only connect to wireless, and then I couldn't run any Windows stuff or any Office stuff. It was But I don't mean to spend a lot of time whining about that, but I did want to mention a couple of things that did help me get things going. So I started rebuilding my machine 3 hours ago, something like that, full rebuild. So F-disk and format, the way we old folks used to refer to that, 3 hours ago. And here I am 3 hours later, and everything's mostly going fine. So here's what saved me: the cloud. No, I've mocked the cloud in the past, and I've come around, but between OneDrive and Dropbox and some of these other cloud devices, it took me very little time after I finally got an OS on this box and all that to get things working again. So I have a folder in OneDrive that has all my installs. So we're talking like Slack and Dropbox and Chrome and all that. Some of them are out of date, which is fine, because if I can't get online to get them, I can run that and they'll update themselves automatically. Documents, OneNote that I use for this, all of those things are all in the cloud. So as soon as I got myself logged in, I was able to mostly get going. So think about that. I know it's scary to have your stuff up in the cloud. I'm with you. I know how that feels. But when it comes to, I remember 10, 15 years ago, rebuilding the machine was a several day deal. And I don't have it all figured out. I'm going to run across things over the next couple of days. But for the most part, I'm up and going and productive in just a couple of hours. Well, as productive as I ever am, as productive as I can expect to be. But having that stuff in the cloud has really helped. That reminds me of another thing that you all should do if you haven't, and that is to turn on two-factor auth or multi-factor auth in as many places as you can. And for me today, that was OneDrive, that was Google, that was, I think, Dropbox. I forget. I had a bunch of them. But have that stuff set up so that when you, when somebody else tries to log into the new machine, you can see that it's been good. Now, when you do multi-factor auth, do it wisely. Don't do it like I did. When I got my new phone, I had multi-factor auth set up, and I only had my phone as the only endpoint. So when I factory reset my phone, I factory reset the only way that I could get the multi-factor token. I needed to add my phone back in. So when you're looking at these multi-factor auth things, consider having like your spouse as spouse's phone or spouse's email address or something as a backup. But do two-factor auth with as many people out there as there are that are having their identity stolen and all that. You almost got to. You got to do that. In the chat room, Mark Chrisman is talking about using KeepPass. Yeah, look at password management things. This day and age, you just can't have the same username across multiple accounts, and you certainly can't have the same password. So you need something like KeepPass or some of these other password vault programs so that you have a fighting chance of keeping it straight. For me, I give every service a unique username, unique email address, and obviously a unique password, because that's the only way that I can think about it. So like when the LinkedIn thing happened with that, when they got hacked, my LinkedIn email address is different than every other email address I have, and the password is different all the way across too. So I don't have to worry about that. But as I was building my machine today and cussing Windows and everything about it, having the cloud made things go a little bit easier. Speaking of machine woes and all that, Patch Tuesday, that was last Tuesday. So I've got the SharePoint 2016, toddklindt.com/SP 2016 builds. That's updated. 2013, I believe, as well. 2010, I kind of forgot about. So I have to go out there and see if there's something out there for that. But not just SharePoint patches, Office client patches, Windows patches, all of that. And I think that's what took Lori's machine down. So be careful with those. Make sure you got backups and all that. I use a backup program called Crash Plan, which I've just now reminded myself I need to install. And that'll help me get everything back up and going. So Patch Tuesday was out there. Keep your things patched. And of course, remember to let me know at Todd Klindt on Twitter, todd.klindt@rackspace.com. If you install any of these SharePoint patches on 2010, 2013, 2016, whatever, not 2003 or 2007, let me know. Good, bad, or otherwise. A lot of people come to me for those kind of questions. And so if good folks like you let me know what your experience was, I can pass that along. So let me know how that works for you. Another thing I've been doing a lot of lately is teaching PowerShell classes with Office 365. And that has been a pretty good time, a pretty fulfilling class. And I mentioned it to you guys for a couple of reasons. Number one, because I would like your input on this. I don't spend as much time in the trenches these days as I used to get to. I don't get to roll my sleeves up and get dirty in SharePoint like I used to. And so I've kind of lost track of what things you guys really do. So I'm curious what tasks you do with Office 365. And by Office 365, I'm talking SharePoint Online. We'll go ahead and throw Exchange Online in there. I'm talking Azure AD, all those things, all those Microsoft cloud platforms. What tasks do you do that either you wish you could automate, something that you have to do all the time, or things that you are automating, but you're wondering if you can automate them better? I would be curious to see what those are, because I'm teaching these classes and I'm teaching the fundamentals and all that, but everybody that takes these classes wants to walk away with applicable PowerShell that they can use. And I've written a few of them. I mean, I think I've got an idea on what some of those things are, but I would like to hear what some of your ideas are. So Twitter, email, if you're in the chat room, and all that, let me know. But I would be curious what tasks you want to do. The other reason I bring it up is because I'm teaching these classes everywhere. And if you're around, you should sit in on one. Office 365 is not going anywhere. We're all going to be kind of, half in the cloud, half on-prem. So if you've been doing PowerShell with SharePoint Server for the last few years, know that you're going to have to expand that to SharePoint Online, Exchange Online, and all that. Don't be afraid of that. It's just going to be the case. So sit down on some of these things. And so the first place that you can see that today, again, is Monday, June 20th. But tomorrow is the IT Unity Connect Online conference, and that's free, and that's at unityconnect.com, I believe. I should have put that in my notes. unityconnect.com. It is free online conference that you can sign up for, and there are a bunch of great sessions, but I am doing my PowerShell with Office 365 session. And in that, I'm going to cover SharePoint Online, Exchange Online, and Azure AD, and I'm going to walk you through some actual tasks that you're going to do. So that's one way to get it. It's free. If you're busy, that session is tomorrow afternoon. If you're busy, you can get it online, things like that, and watch it after the fact, or hit me up and whatever. Next week, I will be at SP TechCon. I'll be doing this session also. And these sessions are different lengths. Sometimes they're 50 minutes. Sometimes they're 75 minutes. So I get to cover different things. I also get to tailor it to the audience that I'm talking to. So I've got a really big slide deck that I've got a bunch of slides at the end that I don't use, depending on who the audience is. So if I know I'm talking to an all SharePoint audience, I'll move all the Exchange slides out. If I know I'm talking to a beginning audience, then I'll move some introductory PowerShell slides up, things like that. But it's a good session. So if you're going to be at SP TechCon next week, swing in, say hey. I would love to talk to you and tell you a little bit about all that. But it's something that's coming. Get used to it. Get comfortable with it. There's actually some fun things that you can do out there. I've really enjoyed playing with Office 365 and Azure with PowerShell. It's really made it come. I don't know. It's added to my enjoyment of it. So hopefully it can you too. One thing that I wanted to mention about PowerShell, a command, I was teaching this class internally at Rackspace here last week or the week before, I forget exactly, and was kind of doing some basic PowerShell things for some of the folks because they hadn't gotten to play with PowerShell much. And I told them about a commandlet that I use all the time called set clipboard. And that, as you can imagine, is a commandlet that takes the pipeline and pops it into your clipboard. So it's kind of, highlight and copy. This is one of those things, it's the curse of knowledge. I knew about set clipboard, so I assumed everybody knew about set clipboard. They did not. They were very excited to hear that because they've had to do that sometimes. And so that was pretty cool. But then today, so I was, high on that helpful tip that I'd given him. Today, Scott Hanselman, a guy at Microsoft, sends out a tweet and he's like, hey, did you know that you can pipe things from the command prompt directly into the clipboard? And he has some command prompt CMD thing. It looked like it must have been like Windows 3.1.1. It was horrible, archaic. And then he shows some executable that you can run that takes things to the clipboard. Oh, so embarrassing. So I made sure and replied back to him that, yes, you could do it from the command prompt if you needed to help your grandpa do something. But we PowerShell folks, we use set clipboard. And so you can do any of the things that you can imagine, get SP site, pipe, set clipboard, poof, all your site collection URLs are in the clipboard, and you can paste it, whatever. So that was a fun one. And again, I kind of fell for that whole curse of knowledge thing. I assumed that everybody knew how to do that, and they didn't. It was just me hoarding all the knowledge. So now you've got that one, set clipboard, to pipe things directly out from whatever you're doing into your clipboard so you can paste it into an email or do whatever you need to do. Okay, so I mentioned I spent a good chunk of today fighting my computer, which is a lot less fun than it sounds like. The good news is, though, considering this install of Windows is about, call it 3 hours old, lickety split, fast as lightning. It's like a brand new machine. None of the crud and cruff that I'm going to spend the next 2 days installing on it have gotten a chance to wear it down yet. But that is the silver lining, just fast as lightning. Just love it. Okay. So the reason I mentioned that up is because kind of light on topics today, because I spent a lot of time just trying to get this thing going. But one of the things that I want to talk about, and it's applicable to you folks, was an article I saw courtesy of my friend at Rackspace, Jerry Lacanu. He's on the Azure team now, and he does a bunch of Azure things. And he posted in our internal Slack channel an article that the Azure team published last week about how you can now bring your SQL Server licenses to Azure if you have an enterprise agreement. If you have an EA, which is, an enterprise agreement, the big thing that Microsoft likes to sell, you can now use those SQL licenses on SQL Server in Azure VMs. So you've already got this umbrella thing, and now you can do it. The reason that's applicable to us, of course, is if you're going to put SharePoint in Azure, you're going to need to put SQL in Azure. So you need to know about this so you're not paying too much for licenses. So you're still charged for the VM, you're still charged for the compute, as they call it, but you're not charged for the SQL license. And when you get into the picker and you pick that, there are now BYOL, bring your own license, templates for SQL that will let you use your enterprise agreement licenses. So that's pretty cool. Licensing is a constant battle on every side of the battle. It's a battle for Microsoft to try to figure out how they get to keep paying their employees by charging customers licenses, but not make all their customers mad because licensing costs too much. And on the customer side, it's tough to figure out what's the best way to license what and not pay more than you have to, all those kind of things. So this is a good one to have in your hip pocket if you're thinking about putting SharePoint or whatever out into Azure. And we're talking Azure Infrastructure as a Service here. If you've got an enterprise agreement, you can slide your SQL servers in underneath that. An associated link that Jerry also put out was the Virtual Machine Optimization Assessment Tool. That is a long handle right there. I'm going to call it the VMOAT, the VMOAT. No, I'm not going to call it that at all. That's ridiculous. So what does the VMOAT do? So I like this one because the lead up is good. So if you go to this page, it's on azure.microsoft.com, and it says, ever wished you could have a Microsoft engineer personally tune your Azure virtual machines? Here's the next best thing. You don't know how often I've sat around here at the Klindt Hacienda spinning some things up and going, I really wish I could have a Microsoft engineer personally tune my Azure VMs. But anyway, what this tool does, you download it, you run it, and it will walk through your VMs, and it does this for SQL, it does it for SharePoint, and it does it for Active Directory. The 3 servers that if you've got SharePoint out in the cloud that you need, it will go through and evaluate how you've got everything set up and then give you some step-by-step instructions on how to make them run better. So pretty cool. I like this. We've seen in the last 6 to 8 months, Microsoft has moved towards making SharePoint in VM, in Azure VMs, a supported platform. And this is another one of the great tools that kind of makes that a doable thing. So if you've got any SharePoint out in Azure or SQL or whatever, run the vMote, the virtual machine optimization assessment tool, and let me know what you think. Let me know if it gives you any helpful information or not, because I'd be curious. I have not had a chance to run it yet. I don't have any SharePoint farms in Azure. I've got them in some Rackspace stuff, but none in Azure. So I don't have any to test this on, but I would love to hear what you guys think if you take this thing for a spin. All right. Again, spent a lot of day cussing and installing my machine. Not so long looking for topics to talk about. So we're going to be a little short today, but that's okay. It's a beautiful day out, lots of sunlight. We'll get this thing done. Go out, play outside. Don't come inside until supper time. But now we're on shameless self-promotion. So this is a big one. So tomorrow is the Unity Connect online thing. I'm doing 2 different sessions. I'm doing a hybrid roadmap panel tomorrow morning at like 8:30, 9 o'clock Central, something like that. It's going to be me. It's going to be Lori. It's going to be Jason Himmelstein. I don't know who else is going to be there. But we're going to be there bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, recently caffeinated by coffee, and ready to go and answer your questions. And we're just going to bounce things around and make fun of each other. It's going to be a good time. So sign up for that. And again, unityconnect.com, and it's free. So sign up for that. And then tomorrow afternoon, I'll be doing my Office 365 and PowerShell session. And that's going to be a good one. Like I said, I've gotten a chance to do that one a lot recently. So it's getting some polish to it. It's a good one. About time for Microsoft to change everything up. So I got to rewrite the dumb thing. But that is tomorrow, June 21st. And again, it'll be available after the fact. So you can grab the recordings. Then next week, SP TechCon Boston. So here's the deal with this. I hate to brag. No, that's not true. I actually do love to brag. But I'm going to try to be humble. I hate to brag, but next week, 1 week from today, 168 hours from today, I'm going to be in Boston. And if that weren't exciting enough, I'm going to be in Boston with both of the L women from Alabama, Laura Rogers and Lori Gowan. Both of them and me in Boston. I don't know what you guys are going to be doing 168 hours from now, but I don't know. I feel pretty good about where I'm going to be. So that's going to be next week. And I will be out there. I get out there Monday. I'm flying out Thursday morning. I'm doing an upgrade session Tuesday afternoon, upgrading to SharePoint 2016. And then Wednesday, I'm doing all kinds of stuff. Wednesday's a busy day for me. I'm going to have to get a good night's sleep Tuesday night. I'm doing Azure AD with Director of Application with Azure AD. I'm doing my PowerShell session. I'm doing a panel Wednesday night with the Boston user group, and who knows what else. Maybe going out and doing some street performances with mimes. I don't know. We'll just see what the day holds. But Wednesday's going to be a busy day. But if you're at SP TechCon, for goodness sakes, I'm going to be all over. Come find me, introduce yourself, shake my hand. I would love to meet you. I would love to chat with you and see what you got going on. But SP TechCon, great little conference, great. I'm just excited to go back out there and see those guys. It's always a good time. So we've got Ignite in September in Atlanta. Still don't know. I assume I'll be going there. I don't know if I'm going to be speaking or anything like that, but I'll be there for sure, bumming around. And then in October, the SharePoint Exchange Forum is out in Stockholm, Sweden. Cannot wait to go back out and see those guys. And that's at unityconnect.com/SEF. So they're with the IT Unity folks. And I'm not sure which sessions I'm doing there, but that's at the end of October, the 27th and the 28th. So glad we got this all working together, folks. In my darkest hour today, when Lori and I were commiserating across Skype about who had the worst computer problems, and it was touch and go there for a while. She'd have worse, and then I'd have worse. But ultimately, the thing that we were both concerned about is whether we were going to have our stuff together to be able to do the podcast tonight, and we did. And I'm super excited that I was able to do that. So chat room, stick around for a couple minutes. I'm going to be out there. But thanks, everybody. No podcast next week, but there will be one in 2 weeks, and I'll tell you all about the adventures that I had at SP TechCon. And after SP TechCon, I'm going to Chicago to see Guns N' Roses at Soldier Field. So there will be some great stories about me throwing my underwear up on stage and getting carted out by security. It's going to be a great time. You're not going to want to miss episode 298. 2 weeks from today. I will see you then. And until then, have a good day.